they did not see a problem with Fuliza because walikuwa washajipanga kuchota hizo do za Fuliza. According to them, they have an option now and they never had an option. Then nikamuliza, okay, but kabla hizi vitu za Safaricom zikuje, si mulikuwa bado munajipanga? So why don't you guys go to that? Kwa nini munaenda kujipanga na do munatoa na hii do inaenda ikiongezeka hivyo? There is no answer, but because it's there as an option, as a product, they use it.
On his inaugural speech to Parliament. Now, he directed the delisting of 4 million people who had been blacklisted by the Credit Reference Bureau for non-payment. He early in the week attended a Safaricom event, after which the CEO announced rate reductions on their overdraft facility, also known as Fuliza. Uno, please talk to us about the current status of accessing affordable credit in Kenya, and maybe why the president chose to prioritize this.
I think credit and accessing credit is, I wouldn't say that it is something that I think pale msee anasukuma mkokoteni ama msee anachoma mahindi is concerned about.
Yeah.
Even this thing, and you know, I'll have you chime in on the career, the financial aspect, the credit part, because I don't understand. I try to see it as trying to impose something that really a majority of the Kenyans, not only will they not understand, they just don't get and they don't deserve, right? So that is one. Two, we had a discussion here about how people are getting into debt because of Fuliza, and how there's like there's no oversight, there's nothing.
But for those who don't understand,
Fuliza is this. Fuliza is this. Fuliza ni borrowing money. So Safaricom, says we will let you borrow money, but your payments are going to be a certain percentage, a certain amount.
Is it borrowing or is it like overdrawing? When your M-Pesa account is at zero, they'll allow you to spend and have a negative balance.
So ideally, you're still borrowing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, but unaomba pesa.
Yes.
So hauna kitu.
Yeah.
But you're like, you know what? Let me copper 2,000. I do this. When I get paid back, I'll pay with interest. But now the issue is that the interest with which you're hit is, I don't know what the exact percentage is.
So the interest was 1% before this announcement they made this week. And that 1%, now here is where, I think Safaricom is being abusive. This product is very abusive.
Very.
And most people don't understand it. So when they quote 1%, it is a daily interest.
Daily interest.
Yeah.
See at ile 1 month.
So remember, compared to your car loan, for example, your car loan, maybe you have a car loan that has a 5%. That's an annual percentage.
Annual.
So if we annualize that 1%, it is 1 times the number of days in a year.
365.
So it's 1.0 something. So the calculation actually comes to around 395%. So this essentially means if you
plus
borrow
the amount, Ali, it depends on the amount. It also depends on the amount of money you are borrowing.
It depends on the amount of money you're borrowing.
You Fuliza, yeah.
But it's very high. But essentially at that 1% rate, essentially it takes 90 days for a 1,000 shilling loan, or maybe a 10,000 shilling loan to double to 20,000. It doubles, meaning it compounds. If you don't pay 10,000 in 90 days, it's 20,000. In another 90 days, it's 20,000 times 2, 40,000. It keeps compounding. So this is very dangerous. It's more abusive than what we used to have in the US.
Yeah.
Payday loans.
Payday
loans were coming at, I think, 47%. These ones are like 395. So they've reduced the rate from 1% to 0.6%. But even that 0.6%
is still a lot.
Your loan is still doubling within 5-6 months. So it's kind of like you've jumped from the fire into the frying pan.
Yeah.
So you're still burning.
And I think most of the people that were being affected ni hustlers.
Yes.
to be quite
Desperate
honest.
people.
Desperate people.
Yeah,
because
people who are borrowing out of desperation.
you would go
lower income,
lower
or your
income, hustler.
is not steady,
Yes.
and maybe you have a shop.
Mtu
you're
wa
relying on
mjengo.
people, and have you guys talked to people about Fuliza? People who actually take Fuliza, and you ask them why they actually take Fuliza, and you explain these things. Ali, kwanza wewe juu umepiga hapo madhafu za economics hapo. Have you ever had a conversation even with a rela or a friend about Fuliza? And what I noticed was that in this conversation, they did not see a problem with Fuliza because walikuwa washajipanga kuchota hizo do za Fuliza. According to them, they have an option now and they never had an option. Then nikamuliza, okay, but kabla hizi vitu za Safaricom zikuje, si mulikuwa bado munajipanga? So why don't you guys go to that? Kwa nini munaenda kujipanga na do munatoa na hii do inaenda ikiongezeka hivyo? There is no answer, but because it's there as an option, as a product, they use it. And folks don't understand what that math adds up to. And I don't know if maybe you're putting it on a chalkboard and you draw it for them and you tell them that if you don't pay it in 2 weeks, this is what it's going to come from. And sometimes in 2 weeks, hizo do hazijaingia. So I don't know. I don't know how we'll get our people past this, because this is something that they're used to. Back to you, studio.
Yeah, like it's very, like the way Safaricom has marketed it and has worded it, and the advantage they have in the fact that they know that if you fail to pay, they'll swallow your money. Like once they'll swallow your money once it's deposited into your M-Pesa. And that's the reason why sometimes you're sending money to someone in Kenya, they're telling you, pana, usitume kwa hii account because ikona Fuliza. So immediately you send it,
correct,
it's swallowed. So that's just a very abusive way. And then the other thing is that this loan has no grace period. It has a fee initially when you take it, and then there's no grace period, meaning that when you take the loan, the interest starts accumulating the following day. So this is a very dangerous product. And
it sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is.
And
it needs to be regulated, if you ask me. But hey, I don't know, this so-called 40%, lowering, Sioni. I mean, I guess maybe maybe it might just mean that somebody doubles the amount that they Fuliza. Since they already used to pay the 1%, sasa wamerudishwa ukule to 0. Wata double.
Yeah, no, I actually don't think it's only regulation that needs to be happening. It needs to be made illegal. Like some of the payday lenders, or rather the lenders who are coming to Kenya, like Tala and a bunch of others who are frozen from doing business. They actually wanted to do business in the US. US regulations ikakata. They were not allowed to do here, but guess where they went? They went to Kenya and they were allowed. And the problem with these loans, I know people will argue that, people have access to credit, if Mamboga needs to pay for, like her produce in the morning and then pay it by Gioni. But here's the problem, like you said, most of the people who are using this are using it because it's available and they lack an understanding of what the effect will be of how much they will owe should they, stay a week or 2 weeks or even a month without paying it.